shifting your focus to the Old Testament, where they have now crossed, over to the promised land. They are now in the land which is called Canaan. And over there, the manna stopped. They stopped receiving manna as the promised land when they came to the land of Canaan. But the word of God says, the manna stopped falling after they ate the fruit of the land. Most of us like the manna, but they didn't like the manna. Did you get this? Most of us crave for manna, that is, provisions from heaven, but they didn't like it. For 40 years they lived only on that. That was nourishment to them, but they got fed up of it. And on one occasion, God got so angry with them that He sent venomous serpents among them because they grumbled against their very food. I'm just bringing this up to build a background. Everything in the Bible has got a purpose. So the manna in God's provision was very important from God's point of view, but these people did not know the value of it. Anyway, but the next generation, the older generation died off, the new generation grew up, and they got accustomed to it because they never knew the taste of garlics and onions. You get the point? The problem with us is, we have a lot of taste of the world, and hence our hearts go back to the world and we say we don't like the manna. But when you come into the next generation, when you're truly born now in His hands, you don't have the taste of the world, so there's no comparison, so they liked it. And they didn't grumble, the next generation. And they fed on it, and the Word of God says, they never were sick, their clothes never tore, their sandals didn't wear out. All the 40 years they wandered in the wilderness. But this was God's provision, His faithfulness, His blessings. So as long as you're in the wilderness, that's the transition. You with me? As long as you're in the transition, and if you're focused on getting your promised land or going to your purpose, His provision is sufficient. He provides. He wants you to get to your purpose. Many of us have got stuck in our transition. By the way, that's called the wilderness. You get nothing out there. You only will live on the provisions. That's why it is necessary for us to make the crossover and to take over. So they came to the promised land. They ate the fruit of the promised land and the manna stopped. So I want to first tell you that your provisions are for the way, not for a lifetime. Are you with me? We want our provisions for a lifetime. You only give the child biscuits and sandwiches when it cannot find its own, when the child cannot help himself or herself. But the moment the child becomes big, the mother says, "Can't you see the jar? Can't you see the food? Take and eat." Becomes a little more big, the father says, "Go and earn your daily bread." That's how God speaks to us. That's the natural. So, when they came to the promised land, the manna stopped. You got to be ready for the manna to stop, and you got to be happy when the manna stops. Now, you have the privilege to step out and conquer. You have been brought into the position, you've been brought into the point of focus, the point of your purpose. Many of us are willing for this, we understand this, but we don't give up the manna because we don't see the fruit in our purpose. Am I saying something? Or am I confusing you? You know, if you are not walking towards your purpose, you're walking dead. In other words, you're living for no reason. God has purchased us with the blood of His Son Yeshua, Jesus. And the question is why? Everybody says, so that we can get heaven. Yes, the answer is right. But then He doesn't knock you off and take you to heaven. He keeps you here. Why? Then everybody gets frightened to die. Why? If you want heaven, why are you frightened to die? So if He's purchased you and still kept you here, He has done it for a purpose. Get your purpose. Understand your purpose. Get to your promised land. Get there first. Now, remember, He spoke to them for 40 years, promised land, promised land, promised land. Moses all the time sang the same song, promised land. Land flowing with milk and honey. They come there to the promised land. They come to the promised land, and then they realize that the work begins. I thought I'm going to jump in and enjoy. No, the work starts. The work starts. To get their promise, they fought. To get their promise, which God spoke about, they fought. You don't agree with me?
Yes.
Did they get it on a platter?
No.
Was it easy for them? There were a lot of things they had to do. Caleb, age 80, mounted a horse and fought. Alone. With a few young men who were willing to support him. 80 years old. And he had to climb a rocky hill to get it. 80 years old. I thought this is promised land. Are you getting your promises? I tell you, we got it all wrong. The churches have spoiled us, taught us everything wrong. Everybody thought, oh, Christian walk, we're getting it on a platter. Yes, you get it on a platter. What? Your salvation. The rest of it, you got to conquer. All are very sad. Now, coming back to the New Testament. Thank you.
Oh.
Next Sunday, snacks.
And she was just saying,
She has warned everybody.
how did it
Deliberate.
No. So now manna stops and the provision comes.
Very never bring beef samosas next Sunday, make sure you don't miss it. Incentive, just give the countdown. I hope you're blessed double no, next Sunday.
Bring your friends also. Huh? Anybody's phone rings, the next meeting they have to bring beef samosas. Patties or
I
samosas.
left one phone in the car. After this.
Okay, so back to the Last Supper. So the Jewish boys know their festival well. They have grown up in that environment. They have a rabbi with them who is the hero of all times. They're very, very comfortable and settled. They like it because when they walk around in the streets, in the village, in the town, everybody follows them. Everybody knows Yeshua, Jesus. Everybody is there to see what's going to happen. And these guys are like the gang around them. You know, they're all enjoying enjoying the moment, you see. And they come for the Passover feast. It's their feast. And they're all waiting, mouths watering. And don't you ever think it's just a piece of bread and little, grape juice. No, it's not that. It was a meal. It was a full meal. And it was a meal of roast lamb. So that's a lot of meal. For men, mouth watering. Imagine you roast lamb, and have it with some nice garlic bread. And you have some nice soup to dip it in. And you're really hungry and you walk the way. You're looking forward to it. Slurp, slurp. And they're already say the grace. And when you tell somebody say grace, they just want you to say grace and they want to attack the food. But anyway, Jesus, what he does, he looks at all of them. He goes, takes off his garment, he goes, he finds the towel, he wraps it. Why are you wasting time for now? The food is getting cold. And he takes a pail, he comes, and he begins to wash the feet. The feet needs to be anointed for progress. It's a sign. For you to walk, the first contact with the ground is your heel. Okay, I'll tell you why you wash the feet. The purpose behind it, because it is connecting. Yes, it was to show that a leader should be humble. Yes, it was to show that a leader should be ready to serve. That's all correct. But you remember he told Eve, God told Eve, that serpent will strike your heel. He will stop your progress. When that serpent strikes the heel, it is difficult for you to progress. Getting into Canaan, your promised land, is starting your progress to get your promise. You've got to move into your promise. And you need your heel. It's very important for you to walk. And in the spiritual language, first he had to heal the heel for the progress. So he got down and he washed off the dirt. That's the old understanding, and he healed them so that they can go and conquer. Then the Passover, that is symbolic of, it's not what you have done, it's what I have done and what I will do. It's not what you can do. I've told you to progress, and I'm sending you with my sacrifice, my strength. I will complete the job for you. Getting me? Yes. After this, then he says, when I sent you previously, I told you to leave your purses. Did you lack anything? No. Now I'm telling you, take your purse. Now I'm telling you, take your purse, take your bag, and if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one sword for yourself. Then he says, so that the prophecy will be fulfilled. In the prophecy it says that he will be numbered among the transgressors. So when they were arresting him, that's one of the things that needs to happen, that he'll be proven to be a leader of transgressors. That should be proven. Okay, so 2 swords. Are you listening to me? Are you following the flow? Everybody there? Good morning. Okay, so Jesse, you're there? Okay, so 2 swords. One was to show that he is a leader of a band of transgressors. In that process, Peter pulls out the sword and chops off somebody's ear. We know this story very well. So, Jesus told Peter, if you live by the sword, you will die by the sword. That means you're not supposed to use the sword to chop off people or to frighten people, or you're not called to be a people, a group of people who are going to use violence. You use violence, you'll die with violence. That's what he told Peter. And heal the ear of that soldier, the servant of the high priest. He healed his ear. Okay? So, what the other sword was doing?
Sword of the Spirit.
There were 2 swords. The other sword is symbolizing, are you listening to me? it's symbolizing that from now on, you learn to fight your way on because your purpose begins. You need to understand. It's symbolic. Jews, a Jewish text, you will only understand if you get the symbols. Why 2 swords? That's enough. Don't get the third. Why you say that's enough? Now, you just said get the sword. Is it enough? It's enough. It's a symbol that you need to learn. It's not going to be a cakewalk. Everybody wants a cakewalk because we have accustomed ourselves with the lies. This is lies. Why you need grace for cakewalk? Tell me. You need grace. When I give you cake, should I give you grace? You will want a bit off. It's like finished. You need grace for the fight. Correct? So you will ask me why? 2 things here. The heel is healed, the sword is shown. Study. For progress, take your sword, take your purse, take your bag. That means a person you got to fuel yourself. Take your bag, you need your provisions. Take your sword, you need to fight. Are you with me so far?
Yes.
Without this, you're stuck. Your wheels are stuck in the mud, you can't move. That's where mana comes. Mana comes. And all of us, we give testimonies on mana, all bad church habits. We make mana a big thing, and then somebody came and told me this. The same thing I saw on TV, somebody else saying the same thing, and somebody else is there. What's so great about these testimonies? This thing happens everywhere, and you tell me come to church. Are you understanding? We are supposed to be the light. What light are we showing? We are not showing no light. We are not being a good representative. So I'm not saying pull out your sword and frighten them. I'm telling you, the sword is symbolic that it's not going to be a cakewalk. You got to fight this walk. You got to learn to stand up and fight. That's why you're given the armor of God. That's why the armor is there. That's why you got up your loins. That's so necessary. Otherwise you will be exposed. That's why you wear your breastplate. That's why you have the belt of truth. That's why you have the salvation, the helmet of salvation. These things are so. And after all that, take the sword of the Spirit. When you get the process, then you get the sword of the Spirit. So we need to know the sword of the Spirit. We need to know the sword of the Spirit. That's the background for you.